Hey guys, welcome back. Been a minute since I've recorded anything. Been pretty sick, honestly. It's just that kind of time of year here in New Zealand. Weather gets pretty freezing. Even in the North Island here, I know my South Island mates are gonna say that I'm soft as all baby shit, but yeah, we've had a pretty harsh winter up here. Like 4-degree mornings and stuff. Of course, like nothing compared to the South Island, but for Auckland, just for the way like homes are designed up here, it's pretty cold, man. And yeah, lots of illness, lots of bugs going around and stuff like that. So haven't really had the chance to come on and do any updates or anything like that. But essentially, yeah, I've had a pretty busy last month or so. Um, the main the main thing I really kind of wanted to come on and talk about was Sambo and North Island Championships last weekend. So, for those of you who don't know, Sambo is essentially like a Russian martial art, I suppose. You've got the gi jacket on, or like a kurtka as it's called, shorts, and there's like a sports version which is mainly just like grappling heavy, like throws and submissions. And then you've got a combat version which is headgear, shin pads, gloves, and essentially just MMA with the jacket on, with headbutts, with knees, with elbows, with everything. So it's pretty full on, and it's quite cool. Initially, I was introduced to it like 5 years ago when Sergey and Abdullah joined us at Future, and they were teaching Sambo, and I just jumped in and got involved and really enjoyed it. But yeah, this was my first time competing in it, and yeah, it's pretty different, eh? Like the rule set takes some getting used to for sure. I mean, the rule set really awards aggression and like initiation of takedowns and takedown attempts. And yeah, that was one thing that kind of like held me back a little bit, was like, oh shit. Firstly, I'm back in the gi jacket, like which I haven't done in ages. So I was like, oh, the grips and stuff like that was slowing me down. I was getting a bit swamped out of like my initiation attempts and like relying too heavily on like counter throws and stuff like that, which the other person for initiating scores first. So yeah, it's an interesting rule set. It's really cool. I managed to hit like a really nice Uchimata, I think, in my second match. And the bro was like, fuck, I saw stars after that one, and I was like, okay, well, the throws still work. But yeah, setup and stuff's just, yeah, it's all different. And then, yeah, so I had that like 2 weekends ago now. I finished with like silver in both the sport and combat division, it was fun. Honestly, it's just a bit of a side quest. Like, I was doing it because it was like there was no comp class on the Saturday, and I was like, well, I still want to get some training in, so let's jump in and do that and see how it goes. And it was a fun experience. Hopefully some opportunities come out of that with, just, I mean, it's all just grappling, man. Like, this is all martial arts, and it's all about just like doing something that's fun. And I did have fun. It was cool. And yeah, I'm just glad for the experience. Um, the priority was still obviously North Island Championships, which was like this past weekend now, the 16th. And I wasn't really sure I was going to get any matches. So doing the Sambo was like, okay, well, at least I can, stay active doing something. Fortunately, I did have an opponent at North Island Nationals, and we ended up having a best of three. Um, but man, I got this cold after Sambo, and damn, like just congestion, sore throat, like, the works. It's just, it sucks. So, you know, the training was pretty average, if any. After the Sambo comp, I was just like real rundown. Obviously, you don't want to give it to anyone, so I like missed training through the whole first half of the week. Got back on the mat Wednesday night after like my symptoms started to clean up, and I was like, okay, well, we got to push now. I did like the shittiest assault bike push I've like done in ages. So I just had like no energy, man. Like I was like, okay, well, I'm giving 100% here, and I can barely push like 1,000 watts on this thing at the moment. Like, oh, yeah, I sent it to the bro at Sweet Science of Fighting, and he was just like, I had to go. I was like, bro, when you look at these numbers, please just realize that I'm extremely sick. It's like, it was so embarrassing. So, yeah, we're starting to come right now, but um, I was definitely still not 100% when I was fighting on Saturday at North Islands. But yeah, Kieran, who I fought, he's got a really decent half guard game. And he was starting to play like some of the butterfly half and like even a false reap entry, which is actually a really good idea in the SJJIF rule set because you can play it because it's not really reaping, and then use it to like kind of shoot your entries and things. So yeah, it was really good, like tactically from him as well. I kind of had to go in and play like some of that split squat against it and like kind of kill it, because I mean, if you don't kill it and you don't get your hips low and away, firstly your pass isn't going to come, but you're not generating any pressure either. And I knew if we're going to have a best of three, like I do, at least in the first match, want to like physically wear on him a bit so that I can, impose my physicality a bit more, and you know, like we already know, like fatigue makes cowards out of everyone. Like, so the more you can pressure someone early and the earlier you can fatigue them, I knew that later I would find my entries once my opponent gets flustered or whatever the case is. So yeah, that was the plan, and it kind of worked. I mean, he did get his entries off, and we ended up in some leg entanglements, and like I'm threatening the back take, and he's got to turn back into the leg entanglement, and then I managed to hit a wash lock, like crossbody ankle lock, in the first match, um, and then yeah, just short rest between, and then in the second match I was like, okay, cool, well. He's likely going to pull again. He wants to get to his game as quickly as possible. And like in the SJJIF rule set, if your hips touch the ground off of a takedown, it's a takedown point. So it it does actually kind of favor the guard puller in both gi and no gi, just purely because if you can impose your guard game quickly, you're not going to get scored on in the wrestling. So if you're more confident as a guard player, it's a good rule set to go with. And I mean, look, it's got its drawbacks for sure. Like I think, like I definitely kind of like the idea. I like some of the ideas of the 80cc scoring of takedowns, where you do have to like pin the guy. But with that said, like I've lost matches because of that as well. I'm not getting that like 75% pin for long enough. So I mean, it's just one of those things. Like I hear people complaining about the rule set and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, cool, but you're complaining about SJJIF, but you don't do ADCC. So like, what the fuck do you want? Or like, oh, you do sub only, um, and then like you come into a points tournament and you get washed out like 28-0. Like that's not because you're a sub hunter. That's because you suck, bro. Like, if positionally you can't dominate a person, your grappling's just objectively not good. Um, there's this kind of idea where it's like, oh, I don't care how many points I get scored on me, like, but I'd rather. And I've been there myself, like when I was a younger guy and like in the blue and purple belt divisions, I was always like, oh, like the match was over 10-0, like, um, and like I lost by 10 points, but he didn't sub me. And it's like, yeah, but this guy just like positionally dominated you, man. Like, what are you? what are you doing? So I think it's important to be able to look at that and go like, yeah, if you lost on 2 points, what does that tell you about your game or things like that? I think it's important, man. Like, I think way too many people fall into this thing where they kind of frame themselves as like, oh, I'm a submission only guy, or like, oh, I'm a this and I'm a that. And what you're doing is you're actually limiting yourself, and you're limiting your ability to grow as a grappler, you know. So yeah, fuck, that's a bit of an aside, but yeah. So I mean, case in point, if I take it back to my first match with Kieran, you know, like he made his guard very hard to pass, and so we're pretty much like 0-0. And if you threaten a position where you can score, you're bound to get a reaction from the person because they don't want to get scored on. But if you're too eager to score, you can end up in some bad positions, you know? Like, there was one position where we went through where he brought his hips over the top to like try capture my knee line and go for the knee bar, which is a really good option. But when I eject my knee line and I can like start coming up to threaten the back, if you don't want me to take your back, now you have to go hips to the mat and turn back into me, back into the leg entanglement. And then I'm back on your legs again. And like, then it's like, okay, great. Now I can get back to the work of subbing you. So tactically and strategically, I think that having points is better than not having points. With that said, I do like sub only, but you get this problem with sub only, like where you've got two guys who've gone at it, they've had a great match, and now you got no submission at the end. A decision after that, both people lose. You know, like if you win, you only won on a ref's decision. If you lost, it's like you lost on a ref's decision. You know, so like there's no how do I put this? Like there's no definitive like decision that's been made there. Like, and it can be open to interpretation. It can go both ways, you know, and that can be a real problem because now how do you know what to fix? Or like how do you have objective and consistent refereeing when something like that happens, you know? So with that said, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love submission only, but yeah, it does create problems. And I mean, I saw it from when I was a blue belt. I think one of the first, or yeah, one of the early grappling industries I went to in Sydney. God, I can't even remember the year. It must have been like 2018, 2017, somewhere like that. Was sub only, no time limit. Good on you, Ben Hodge, for trying to run that. Like, so it ran for 2 days. Gi was the first day, and no gi was the second day. And honestly, I thought it was awesome. But I've been at submission tournaments where I've seen, no jokes, a match went like 3 hours, right? I wish I was exaggerating. I swear to God, like we watched the entire competition run while these two dudes were continuing to fight. Like medals and stuff were done, everything was done, and these two dudes were still continuing to fight. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. And they just couldn't finish each other. So because it's no time limit, this match just continues and it just continues. So yeah, like that was maybe one of the craziest things I've seen. I've had like a 45-minute sub only match. And that was in that same like no time limit rules. Because like I couldn't submit this guy and he refused to let me into any submissions. And it just, yeah, like you kind of end in the stalemate. And then the more tired you get, the harder it gets. And the more tired he gets, the more they're going to dig into the trench, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. So, huge aside. Sorry. Maybe it's useful, maybe it's not. I don't fucking know. I mean, honestly, like, if you're watching this, like, if you're watching my channel at the moment anyway, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're off the deep end. So, yeah, like, one of the, I want to continue with the travel vlogs and stuff like that, but I'm also just at like a stage with content creation and putting things up where I actually just don't like I just don't really give a fuck about like engagement and stuff anymore. Like I don't care about monetizing this channel. I don't care about like really doing clickbaity things and clip farming and shit like that. Like I'm gonna just post whatever the fuck I feel like. And I mean, if you like it, that's great. If you don't, I'm sure there's plenty of other channels out there that are posting stuff that you'll like. Um, but more, this is just like posterity for me, man. Like, you know, that's what I did when I started the blog back in the day. When I was writing, it wasn't for anybody except me. I had stuff that I wanted to express and um, an urgency in my brain to write it down so I could free up that space for other things. I guess I'm just kind of doing that in a visual form now. I don't really feel like endorsing some of these like hosting sites and things anymore. I don't feel like blog content's very good anymore. The writing that I was doing, I found myself more and more just trying to appease other people with it. And you kind of see the only blogs that are still kind of working now just post clickbait shit, man. And I'm just, yeah, I'm not about to do that, man. Does that mean I'll monetize this? Probably not. Do I care? Also, no. I got other shit going on, man. So, yeah, kudos to you if you still want to watch, man. I'll keep trying to bring you guys good content and things like that. But it's going to be on my terms, and I'm just going to be unapologetic about that. So, I probably should have put that stuff at the end, but it's free form, man, so who cares? Um, Second match. I've also had my caffeine for the day, so like, yeah, we're all over the place. Um, yeah, second match. I felt like um, I knew he was gonna pull, so immediately I went in and like before he even pulled, I'm like setting the knee tap up, and not just for the sake of scoring the two to make it look like a takedown attempt, but by getting to the top of their knee, um, I can start to like camp from the half guard position, like, and I can start my camping and like controlling that inside position if I've got my hand on the top of the knee. So uh, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna run this so that I can get like start threatening the whole near side underhook, and I can start threatening the camp and kind of play off the dilemma between the two. Because if you give me chest to chest, your half guard's fucked. But if you let me camp, then you're gonna get tired. And then playing left and right. So just a lot of the things that I've been working on, and like Bilal when he recently came back from Oz, we got some rounds in and we were like talking about the passing and stuff. So I really wanted to get that. Um, I really wanted to get those concepts working under fire and see what I needed to work on. I've still got a little bit to work on there, like my inside leg pummeling, like the leg that's on the inside of the camp. Like um, I wasn't pummeling as hard or like not as hard, but like at the right time that I needed to. So yeah, I've still got a bit to work on there, but yeah, I definitely want to give Karen his props for like having a very sharp and like tactically strong game. Because there's not a lot of guys, and especially not a lot of black belts in NZ who are like going to come into like Nogi and pull guard. Um, so yeah, I've got to give him props for that, and for jumping in and giving me some matches too. So sure. Um, yeah, my big takeaways for back to back weekends of competing is recovery. yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Um, you know, that's always the one I neglect the most because, like, I don't know, man. Like, I got a high pain threshold, and like, I'll tolerate a lot of physical discomfort, even if that's stiffness and uh, sickness. Um, and yeah, I don't know. That's something I've always had to work with and be like more conscious of and listening to my body. Um, yeah, I'm just not very good at it, man. I know that's a weakness, and it's something that I try to work on. I mean, I preach it to everybody, but like, you know how it goes. You don't always listen to your own advice. But yeah, we used to do that heaps when I was like blue and purple. Um, like you'd compete almost every weekend where you could, because competitions weren't as regular. Coming up for us, if you saw back-to-back competitions or even two competitions a month, you were like, holy shit, like I got to do all of this. And we try to stay as busy as we could. We'd be jumping the ditch for grappling industries. We'd be traveling to the States whenever we could, or like Philippines or Asia, just to get like more rounds on the mat. And I remember, I think it was like as a blue belt and a purple belt, must have been purple belt. I think I was like, this year, I want to compete like 14 times. I want to do 14 competitions this year. And that load was heavy as. I think I landed short of that goal. I think I got to like 12 comps in the year. Um, and I mean, when you think about it, you go in your mind, you go, oh, okay, well, that's one comp a month. It doesn't work out that way because there are like blank spots in the year. So sometimes it would be like back to back weekends. Sometimes it would be like um, one Saturday on, one Saturday off, like alternating or whatever. It was never really like one a month. That was not really how it worked. Um, and I just remember I got close to 14, and then I burnt out, and I got like a staph infection. I think I got like COVID or whatever. Something fucking happened. I think it was a staph infection, and I was like so fucking run down because like your body's just stressed, man, and like the cortisone's building up. Your immune system's getting suppressed. It's just really hard to do. It's really fucking hard to do. I'd rather do like four comps a year for sure. Um, but you also just never know who's going to jump in, and like you've kind of got to get that XP. I wish it was like the States where there's Naga, there's ADCC, there's IBJJF, there's everything, like, and you can pick and choose your schedule and your routine and plan your calendar around these big comps. But, it's not like that here. Oz has a great scene, but, it's expensive for us to go over. You're not just talking about like a little fucking road trip. Now you got to buy flights, you got to get accommodation and everything like that comes with it. So, it is hard to compete regularly, but if you want to do it, and you want to get good and you're serious about it, you'll find a way to make it happen. I mean, when when I first was like, okay, cool, well, you know what, like, I want to compete. I want to do it often. I want to get really good. I mean, firstly, I left Christchurch. I left home. I left my family. I left my job. I moved up to Auckland. I mean, I had job security already, which is an added bonus. Like I did walk into a job here because I'd sorted that before I left Christchurch. But I lived in an attic, literally. Like I lived in an attic and I paid something like, you know, just over $100 of rent a week, and I lived like that for ages. Just trying to make it happen and save money so that I could like travel at the end of the year to Thailand and go and do a training camp for 2 months at like Tiger, and every school holidays, because I'm a teacher, if you didn't know, you get the school holidays where you've got 2 weeks. I'd like go, okay, well, this school holidays, I'm going to see what competitions line up in Oz and whatever, and I'm going to head over there. Like, and I just made it happen. And, I was so broke, like, I was so broke I went plant based, not because it was healthier for me, it was fucking shit for me. But I was like, well, okay, if I'm plant based, I don't have to cut weight because I'm not putting any weight on. Um, like, so I was like already intermittent fasting. I've done that for like since my 20s, early 20s. I was like, well, I'm intermittent fasting, and if I'm plant based, like, I'm not going to put on any weight. So I'm going to be able to do like under 88 kg divisions. Um, and if I save here, now I'm only eating like one meal a day and shit like this. Yeah, it was fucking stupid, man. But like, this is what you got to do, you know? And like, yeah, loved it. I don't regret it. Like I could have lived more comfortably. I could have got a nicer place, like an actual room. I could have ate well. I could have been like partying every weekend. I mean, it was a bonus if on like a Friday or a Saturday I'd like see a couple of my mates who were like living in Auckland at the time, but like I didn't know anyone up here. And it was, yeah, it was just like, okay, well, the only people I know are at jujitsu, so that's where I'm gonna go every night. Sometimes I'm gonna be there at lunchtime as well if I can. I'll take a day off and I'll go train lunch. So yeah, it's good times. um, but yeah, if you're serious about competing, you will find a way to make it work. And there's been a lot of I've had a lot of conversations recently with uh, you know the young competitors coming up and older guys who run the comps and stuff like that. And they're like, "Fuck, there's more comps than ever, and fewer people than ever entering." And I think it's just about what I was saying before. It's like people people are like, firstly, I think no one likes to lose. So a lot of people, they don't enter a comp unless they think they can win, which is valid. Like, especially if you're trying to build your confidence, you're trying to build your brand, which is a thing. You've got to be seen to be winning. Um, we just didn't care about that, man. Like, I don't know if it's a change in philosophies. I don't know if it's a change in the culture of the sport or whatever, but we did not care. Like, we go to a grappling industries, which would be round robin, and you would have like 12 matches in a bracket with like 10 people, and you'd be fucking stoked if you won half of them, you know? You'd enter the gi, your weight division, you'd enter the gi, the absolute division, you like open weight division, and then you do nogi, your division, and then the open weight division. So you do full brackets, and you could walk away from a weekend with like 20, 25 matches. And we were stoked on that. Like, and yeah, cool. If you fucking won, that was great. But like, it was an aside, it was XP. Like, we were trying to rack up XP like an RPG character. And I definitely don't regret that. And I'd really encourage more younger guys, the competitors coming up here in New Zealand, to treat it that way. And to be out there as much as you possibly can, doing it as much as you can, and getting that XP. Because, man, like, I the only competitions I regret are the ones that I didn't enter when I could. And I think about those ones and I'm like, fuck, what if I had done that one? You know, how much could I have learned if I'd done that? How much, like, if I'd gone to that competition, like, what would I have learned? So, yeah, I think consistency and competing in every kind of rule set is important if you're actually serious about becoming a good grappler or a good martial artist. So, um, don't worry about padding a record. Don't worry about like how it's gonna look on your smooth comp and shit. Just get in there and do it, man. Because one day you might want to be a coach, or one day you're going to be the senior guy in the training room, and all of that experience is what you're going to lean on to pass on to the next generation of guys. And if you don't have it, um, you're not contributing towards the improvement or of the sport. You're contributing to the dilution of it. The old school, you know, the Hicksons and the Gracie combative era guys, they all talk about the dilution of the sport. And to some extent, I agree with them on that point, because the less you know, the less you can pass on to the next generation of guys. And you end up being part of this information entropy that goes on. I've talked about it before, but I think it's a good message. And if you're not out there testing your skills, like let's say you reckon you've got a really good guard, right? But you never go and test it in competition, and you just smoke guys on the mat with it, but no one else. When it comes to teaching that, you only have, let's say, a 50% stat in your close guard, okay? And you pass that on to the next generation of guys. They're not going to get 100% of your 50%. They're going to get 50% of your 50%. So, you've got this decay downhill of information. And I think in that way, I can see arguments that the old guys make, but in some ways, I think those that are still serious about it and are still students of the game are driving the sport forward. The other argument I don't like is this idea where you see some of the old timers. There's not many of them, and like I don't think it's certainly not any of the ones I train with, because the older guys that I train with who've been around for a while, not like physically older, but old in the sport, I'm very open-minded, and they've always been good role models for me. But I do see some of these older guys overseas talking about like, sport, jiu-jitsu for sport and stuff like that. And I'm like, bro, like you can't even fight your blood pressure. Never mind somebody else. I would trust like, a purple belt, a blue belt, or a purple belt who competes in IBJJF or whatever to defend themselves pretty well, to be honest. Yeah, cool. As long as you're not going to go fucking pull guard on concrete and like Berimbolo the guy. But I think it is still important to like, train your striking and, think about mixed martial arts and be fact checked on your technique, You ain't gonna be pulling half guard in an MMA fight. I mean, we've seen examples of this. So, I mean, I'm not gonna go down that route. Like, that horse has been beaten to death so hard. I just find it it's an interesting cope. It's like, it's that same thing I was saying earlier about like guys who are like, oh, I only do sub only. It's like, yeah, but okay, cool. What happens when you add punches in, like what, you're going to tell the guy who assaults you at a bar, like, oh, sorry, bro. Like, what are you, 88 kgs? I only fight under 77. But it doesn't matter, bro. Like, and there's, even if we remove it from a self-defense perspective, which I mean, would be ridiculous because we live in a world where you need to keep yourself safe, and a whole aspect of this martial art and the confidence you get from it is supposed to be from knowing you can defend yourself. So it's contrived as an argument to remove it from that. But even if we did, let's say we do, you just like, you need to understand that there's a lot of joy in discovery and learning new shit, man. Like, I think a lot of people, they hit a plateau because what they're doing is boring to them. So let's say you're like, fuck, man, like, oh, I've been training for like 5 years now. I'm a fucking blue belt. I'm feeling this plateau. Cool, try something different. Go do some kickboxing, do some Muay Thai, do some judo, and rediscover what it's like to be a beginner at something again. And, don't be scared of something new and looking shit. You already did, and you probably still do. You probably still look like shit on the mat. So go and look like shit somewhere else and see if it's fun. Like, I mean, it's all just growth mindset stuff, man. Like, we could talk about it forever. So anyway, I'm pretty much rambling about like the last couple of weeks and what's been on my mind anyway. Yeah, I don't really have too much coming up before October and my super fight in Brisbane, on Who's Next Grappling. They will be streaming that. They are selling tickets as well. So if you are in Brisbane or in Australia and want to come and watch a sick card, um, come along, buy some tickets. It's going to be in Brisbane on the 18th of October. I think before then, I've got a lot of my S&C stuff I want to dial down and a whole bunch more technique, and just just eke out the last little bit out of this like skill development cycle that I'm currently on, and then start to refine things before that. It's 3 5-minute rounds in the pit, so that's sick. I haven't fought rounds before, so that's cool. I mean, I fight rounds in MMA, in training, but and you do rounds when you do jiu-jitsu, but like 3 5s against the same person, you got to be tactically aware, you got to be strategic, and you got to think about that. The pit is awesome. I can't wait to be back in the pit. I think it's so cool. It's so good for jiu-jitsu, and grappling in general. Not to have just bullshit out of bounds and to have to be aware of your space is so crucial, man. And yeah, it just adds an extra entertaining element. So yeah, that's going to be hella fun. And then what else? ADCC trials in December in Thailand. Let's go. But yeah, other than that, see if I can get another travel vlog in this year. Maybe go down to Queenstown or Wanaka. I'm going to continue with the How to Learn Jiu-Jitsu series as well. I've got a couple of ideas in the tank that I'm just percolating on. So if you've been watching those videos, thank you. If you've got anything you would like to see in any episodes and stuff, let me know. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time.